So this is the start of the Oceanauts Tech Team, and this journey is going to take us from now, October 2025, and we are going to start with the training. So last night was our first workshop night, and the idea is that we're taking recreational divers who have a strong basis in diving, good number of dives under their belt already, and then they're going to continue on through into extended range or technical diving. So last night was our first night. This was at Carlingford Lough Yacht Club in Cologne on the shores of Carlingford Lough, and we were doing a workshop session. The idea was to bring in all of the kit, or most of the kit, that we would be using over the next, especially the next sort of month or two, and get it all set up. And once we had it all set up, to do a little bit of sizing and go from there. More familiarisation workshop than anything else, to really just get people's heads round the kit, because it is quite different from the recreational equipment that you would be using normally. So we started off with the twin sets, and for some people who hadn't seen them before, this was quite a nice one. We had a few different types of twin sets there last night, and in particular a couple of different sizes as well, different types of twinning bands. So, you know, starting from the basis of how to actually set up a twin set, we talked about the bands and how you actually set up the cylinders themselves, how you set up the manifold, and with the isolation valve, where it should be, and the sort of variations that you do get within that, because some people do adjust them slightly. Then from that we went on to putting on the wing and the positioning of putting on your wing onto the twin set, and then finally putting on the backplate with your harness, and again where to put that on and how you can adjust that, different positions that you can put that onto your cylinder depending on your size, depending on how high or low down you want. And this comes into, again, being able to reach your valves, which comes in more later on in the training. But you know, what we want to do is we want to set that foundation now and have it so that people are comfortable with that before we then move on into the in-water training. Once we had the twin set and the backplate and wing onto the cylinder, we then moved on to our regs. This took quite some time because we have a few different variations of the regulators that were available there. Some of the ones were turreted, so they have ports that can rotate. Some of them didn't have them, and this creates variations in the way that you're going to position your regulators on the actual cylinder valve. And once you have them on it, then how do you kind of want those hoses to be routed? So there's different ways of doing it. There's no 100% right answer for that. But what we want to try and do is we want to make sure that the hoses don't get in the way of the valves. So whenever if you do need to reach for them, and we're doing the drills for the shutdowns, that you're able to access them without, you know, bumping your hand into things or them getting in the way of the valves and actually prohibiting that from happening. As well, some of the questions that were asked were about transmitters. So if you're using analog gauges and transmitters, you know, how do you set that up? And that, obviously, you can get into conversations about the right ways of doing that, the wrong ways of doing it, whether it includes additional failure points. Is it just a nice to have because it'll tell you your sac rate and things like that? These are further conversations that we can have with them down the line. But at the end of the day, each person needs to be able to make their own decisions on these. So one of the things that we were talking about was hose lengths, and hose lengths will change depending on the person. So we had different hose lengths that were there. Primarily we talk about 210 centimeter long hose configuration that then goes down from your primary post on the right hand side, and then on your left hand side you've got a short hose that will come around the back of your neck, which was normally 55 centimeters. However, this does change depending on the person. Bigger people might need slightly longer hoses. Additionally, we're using dry suits, so then we will have dry suit hose that will come off one of the posts as well. And we talked about whether you have your wing or your dry suit on which post you have it on. So primarily we'll use wing from our right post and we'll use dry suit from our left post. And then the dry suit, what I like to do is route it down underneath the arm, under the webbing to keep it nice and streamlined, and then into the dry suit valve. So depending on the size of the person, they might need a longer hose. So we went through all of that as well, and the sizes that people need, and if they needed to make adjustments, then we can adjust them before we start our in-water training. A big part of the Oceanauts Tech Team is the teamwork side of it. It's about building a team, it's about the rapport that you have with your other team members, and last night was the first night of that. So we're trying to build that up and make sure that everybody's unified in the way that they're going to do things, the way that they communicate, the way that they set up their kit, the way that they stow certain things. It just makes a stronger team. So that was a huge part of just going through all of these configurations last night. So now that we've completed that part of the workshop, that's our head start, okay? So our next stop is the quarry in Market Hill. We're going to jump in the water next weekend, and we're going to start the actual foundations in water training on our twin sets and getting it bit by bit. So I personally am really looking forward to that bit, and I think last night the energy with people leaving, they're all excited now that they've got their twin sets set up, and they've tried it on their backs and they're ready to get in the water now, and so am I, to be fair. So over the next 7 months, we're going to work step by step together. We're going to train together, build that team. We're going to build our communication, our skills, everything that we need to. And I really look forward to those big expedition dives, hopefully in the spring, early summer of 2026.